There's a stigma attached to loneliness. When a woman has no friends, people often assume she is broken, unworthy, or incapable of relationships. But loneliness is not always a curse or somehow defective. But that is not the truth. Loneliness, though painful, is not always a curse. Sometimes it is a teacher, sometimes it is a pause, sometimes it is a sacred space where a woman finds the courage to face herself without distraction. When the noise of constant companionship disappears, silence arrives. And in that silence, the voice of the soul grows louder. A woman who once defined herself by how many friends surrounded her, who once felt secure only when others approved, now has the chance to ask the deeper questions. Who am I when no one is clapping? Who am I when no one is calling? Who am I when I have no audience, no cheerleaders, no circle to lean on? This is not a season of punishment. It is a season of revelation. Loneliness has the power to reveal the parts of her identity that were hidden beneath the opinions of others. It strips away the masks she wore to fit in and forces her to face the raw, unfiltered version of herself. And though this is uncomfortable, it is also liberating. For the first time, she learns to recognize her own reflection and to respect the woman she sees staring back at her. Loneliness also has a strange way of separating what is temporary from what is eternal. Friends can walk away. Social circles can shift. Crowds can cheer today and boo tomorrow. But when a woman learns to sit in her solitude and still affirm her worth, she discovers that she is never truly empty. She learns that her value cannot be measured by the number of people at her table, but by the depth of peace in her heart. So no, loneliness is not always a curse. Sometimes it is the womb of transformation. It is the quiet season that prepares her for strength. It is the soil where resilience grows, where wisdom matures, and where confidence is born. Not confidence borrowed from the presence of others, but confidence rooted in the truth of her own being. A woman with no friends may look alone to the world, but inside she may be going through the most powerful rebirth of her life. Isolation is a complicated experience. On one hand, it feels like a heavy weight pressing against the chest. On the other hand, it can feel like a safe blanket wrapping itself around the soul. For a woman with no friends, isolation is not always chosen. Sometimes it is forced upon her by betrayal, rejection, or abandonment. And sometimes it is self-imposed because her heart has learned the cost of trusting the wrong people. Isolation can protect. It can protect her from the shallow friendships that pretend to care but gossip behind her back. It can shield her from people who only show up when they need something but vanish when she is the one in need. It can guard her from manipulative relationships that drain her energy and suffocate her spirit. In those moments, solitude feels like a sanctuary. She can breathe freely without constantly calculating who is genuine and who is playing a role. But here is the paradox. The same isolation that protects her also hurts her. The same walls that keep out danger also keep out love. The fortress she builds to protect her heart slowly begins to look like a prison cell. The silence that once gave her peace can start to echo with emptiness. The loneliness that once felt like safety can begin to feel like punishment. And yet this tension is where growth is born. A woman who understands the duality of isolation learns to hold it carefully. She recognizes its purpose, but does not let it harden her permanently. She allows isolation to be a temporary refuge, but not a permanent residence. She learns when to rest behind her walls and when to begin opening the gates again. The truth is this: protection is necessary, but overprotection is dangerous. A heart that never risks connection eventually forgets how to receive love. A soul that hides too long forgets how to shine in the presence of others. The courage for her is in discerning the difference, knowing when isolation is serving her and when it is silently stealing from her. So yes, isolation protects as much as it hurts. But if she listens carefully, it teaches her balance. It teaches her to build boundaries, not barriers. It shows her how to guard her heart without suffocating it. It reminds her that though she may not have friends right now, she must remain open to the possibility of safe, meaningful connections in the future. Because isolation should be a teacher, not a life sentence. One of the greatest challenges a woman with no friends faces is the silence of affirmation. We are wired to crave connection, to want to be seen, celebrated, and validated. When friendships are absent, it can feel like she has been erased, as if her value only existed when someone else was there to witness it. This is where the danger lies, tying worth to external validation. For too long, many women measure themselves by the applause of others. A compliment becomes proof of beauty. An invitation becomes proof of belonging. A friend's laughter becomes proof of being lovable. But what happens when all of that disappears? If her sense of self is built entirely on external validation, then the loss of friends feels like the loss of identity. This is why self-compassion becomes essential. It is not a luxury, it is survival. Self-compassion is the practice of sitting with yourself in your most vulnerable moments and saying, even here, I am enough. It is looking in the mirror and refusing to measure your worth by likes, texts, or social circles. It is treating yourself with the same kindness you would extend to someone else who is hurting. Without self-compassion, loneliness can turn into self-loathing. A woman begins to believe that if she has no friends, it must mean she is unworthy of love. But self-compassion interrupts that lie. It reminds her that being friendless is not the same as being worthless. It reminds her that relationships are seasons, not definitions. The truth is, external validation will always come and go. People change. Circumstances shift. Even the most loyal friends cannot fill every empty space within the soul. But self-compassion is a constant she can carry with her. It is the inner well that never runs dry because it comes from within, not from the shifting approval of others. And here's the paradox. When she learns to validate herself, she becomes even more magnetic to others. People are drawn to those who are grounded in their own worth, who do not beg for affirmation but carry it within. Self-compassion not only heals the wound of isolation, it prepares her for healthier, more balanced connections in the future. So yes, friends may come and go, and their validation may rise and fall like the tide, but self-compassion is the anchor. When she learns to speak kindly to herself, to honor her own journey, and to embrace her imperfections, she will no longer live starved for the approval of others. She will know deep in her bones that she is enough, even in silence, even in solitude, even with no one else around. When a woman has no friends, the instinct is to armor up. After all, it was vulnerability that left her exposed before. It was opening her heart that led to betrayal, disappointment, or abandonment. The pain of letting people courage to remain open to possibility. Vulnerability says, even though I have been hurt, I will not let pain define me. Even though I have been let down, I will not stop believing that love and trust can exist. Without vulnerability, she becomes hard. She learns how to survive, but forgets how to truly live. She may protect herself from heartbreak, but she also cuts herself off from joy, intimacy, and belonging. Vulnerability is not about removing the armor completely. It is about knowing when to lower it and with whom. It is about discernment, not denial. A woman with no friends must understand this. Vulnerability is the bridge back to connection. It is the soft space in her soul that reminds her she is still alive, still capable of love, still worthy of being known. It is the choice to take small risks again, to let her story breathe, to share pieces of her heart with those who have earned the right to hear it. The irony is that vulnerability is often seen as weakness when in fact it is strength. It takes courage to trust again after betrayal. It takes resilience to keep believing in love after abandonment. It takes wisdom to open the heart again, not recklessly but intentionally. Vulnerability is the quiet strength that says, My past pain will not rob me of my future joy. So while a woman with no friends may feel safer closing off forever, she must remember this. Walls may keep out hurt, but they also keep out healing. To be whole, she must learn again to be vulnerable, not with everyone, but with the right ones. And in doing so, she will discover that even after seasons of solitude, connection is still possible, trust is still possible, and love is still possible. There is a painful truth many women discover in their journey. Not every friendship is meant to last forever. We grow up believing that real friends stay for life, that if someone walks away, it must mean we did something wrong. But life teaches otherwise. Some friendships are seasonal, some are lessons, some are mirrors that show us who we were in a particular chapter but cannot walk with us into the next. For a woman with no friends, it is easy to slip into shame, believing she is flawed, believing she drove people away, believing she is unworthy of loyalty. But the absence of friends does not always point to her failure. Sometimes it points to her growth. Sometimes it points to her courage to step out of relationships that no longer honored her soul. The truth is, not all friendships deserve to stay. Some friends only celebrated her weaknesses but resisted her strengths. Some enjoyed her brokenness but could not handle her healing. Some were comfortable, and she dimmed her light but grew distant when she began to shine. To keep such friendships alive would not be loyalty, it would be self-betrayal. A woman must learn the sacred skill of release, to recognize when a friendship has served its purpose, to stop watering dead plants, to stop calling back those who made peace with her absence. Releasing does not mean she is bitter. It means she is wise. It means she understands that clinging to the wrong people keeps her from receiving the right ones. This is not easy. Letting go feels like grief because it is grief. She mourns the laughter they shared, the secrets exchanged, the memories built. But with time, she begins to see that not all departures are losses. Some are blessings in disguise. Some exits clear the space for healthier, deeper, more authentic relationships. And here is the freedom in this truth. She does not need to hold on to everyone to prove her worth. Her value is not measured by how many people stay. Her value is constant, even if everyone leaves. Friendships may fade, but her dignity remains. So not all friendships deserve to stay. And when she accepts this, she stops chasing what has ended and begins to prepare her heart for what is to come. For every door that closes, another can open. For every friendship that fades, there is the possibility of connection that is stronger, safer, and more aligned with her soul. There is a strength that only solitude can teach, a strength that no crowd, no group of friends, no constant companionship can ever provide. Crowds may offer comfort, noise, and distraction, but solitude gives clarity. When a woman has no friends, she is forced into this school of solitude, and though the lessons are hard, they shape her into someone unshakable. In solitude, she learns how to stand on her own 2 feet without waiting for others to hold her up. She learns how to make decisions without seeking endless approval or consensus. She learns how to face the silence without filling it with meaningless chatter. Solitude strives her of crutches, but in doing so, it teaches her balance. It teaches her to walk with steady steps, even when no one is walking beside her. Crowds can sometimes become an escape, a way to hide from yourself, to drown your fears in laughter, to cover your insecurities with noise. But solitude gives her no such escape. Alone, she must face the questions she has avoided. Alone, she must confront the fears she has suppressed. Alone, she must meet the raw version of herself and learn to embrace her. And though this feels terrifying, it is also profoundly liberating. Because when she can sit in her own presence and feel whole, she becomes unstoppable. Solitude also strengthens her inner voice. In the midst of friends, it is easy to lose track of her intuition. Too many opinions, too many directions, too many expectations. But in solitude, her inner compass grows sharper. She begins to trust her gut. She begins to hear the whispers of wisdom that were once drowned out by the noise of others. And slowly she learns that she does not need a crowd to guide her. She can trust herself. The strength born in solitude is not loud or boastful. It is quiet, resilient, and enduring. It is the strength that carries her through nights of tears, mornings of silence, and days of invisibility. It is the strength that makes her less dependent on external affirmation and more anchored in her own truth. When she eventually returns to community, she does so not out of desperation, but out of choice. She no longer seeks friendships to fill her emptiness. She seeks them to share her fullness. And that shift changes everything, because the woman who has been forged in solitude no longer fears being alone. She knows that even if the crowd leaves, she will still stand. So yes, solitude teaches strength that crowds cannot give. It is in the quiet, in the stillness, in the absence of company that she discovers the depth of her own power. And once she learns it, that strength never leaves her. It becomes the foundation of a life lived with courage, independence, and dignity. When a woman has no friends, it is easy to believe she is doomed to live without community. Society paints a narrow picture of belonging, a tight-knit group of best friends, endless outings, laughter around tables, vacations together, shared secrets. And while this picture is beautiful, it is not the only definition of community. If she clings to this single vision, she may feel perpetually excluded. But the truth is, community must be reimagined. Community doesn't always look like a lifelong best friend who knows every detail of your story. It doesn't always come in groups that meet every week or people who are inseparable. Sometimes community is found in the kindness of a neighbor who checks in when the lights go out. Sometimes it's the cashier who notices your face and remembers your name. Sometimes it's the colleague who covers for you when life gets heavy. Community can be woven from small threads of human connection, not just grand tapestries of lifelong bonds. Reimagining community also means letting go of the lie that it must always be deep to be valuable. Even light connections, brief conversations, seasonal friendships, or temporary companions can nourish the soul. A woman who expects every friend to last forever may end up disappointed, but a woman who welcomes connection in all its forms will find beauty in unexpected places. And here's another truth. Community can also be chosen family. Just because blood ties exist doesn't mean they always provide belonging. A woman with no friends may discover that her truest community comes from people who were not born into her life, but who walk into it by choice. Family can be built as much as it is inherited. Reimagining community also requires courage. It means she must be willing to step outside the rigid expectations of what friendship should look like. Maybe community looks like a book club. Maybe it looks like volunteering. Maybe it looks like a spiritual circle, an online support group, or even moments of solidarity with strangers who share the same struggles. Community is not limited to one shape. It adapts, it shifts, it expands with her growth. The danger of not reimagining community is despair. If she believes there is only one way to belong, she will measure herself against an illusion and always come up short. But if she opens her heart to the possibility that belonging can be found in different forms, she will realize she has never been as alone as she thought. So yes, community must be reimagined, because belonging is not a perfect picture. It is a living, breathing reality that takes many shapes. And when she learns to see it differently, she will realize that connection is not absent from her life. It simply looks different than she expected. When a woman finds herself with no friends, it is easy for her to believe her story has ended, that the best chapters are behind her, that loneliness is her permanent condition, that she has been written off by life. The silence of an empty phone, the ache of unanswered messages, the absence of invitations can whisper lies into her spirit. You are forgotten. You are invisible. You will always be alone. But here's the truth. Her story is not over. Loneliness is a chapter, not the whole book. Friendlessness is a season, not a destiny. Life is still unfolding, and new connections, new opportunities, and new communities are still waiting to be discovered. The present reality does not define the future possibility. Her story is not over because people are still being written into her journey. Just because the ones who once stood beside her are gone does not mean no one else will come. Different seasons bring different companions. The friends who could not walk with her in her struggles may be replaced by those who will run with her in her victories. The empty table today may one day be full again, with faces she hasn't even met yet, with people who will understand her in ways past friends never could. Her story is not over because she is still evolving. Friendlessness can feel like an identity, but it is not. It is an experience, not a definition. She is still growing, still healing, still becoming, and as she grows, she will attract what aligns with her new self. The woman she is becoming may not even fit with the friendships of her past, and that's okay. Her story is still being written in ink she cannot yet see. Her story is not over because within her still beats the desire to connect, to love, and to be loved. That desire is proof of life. And as long as there is life, there is possibility. She may not know when or how, but loneliness does not have the power to cancel her future. Her story is not over because she carries within her the strength of everything she has survived. She has endured the absence of friends. She has faced nights of silence. She has sat with herself and discovered resilience she never knew existed. That strength will carry her forward, preparing her for friendships, opportunities, and seasons that require the wisdom she has now gained. Isolation may be the shield protecting her until she is strong enough to step back into the world with new boundaries and new wisdom. She learns that loneliness is not always a curse, it can be a teacher. She understands that isolation protects, but it must not imprison. She replaces the applause of others with the compassion of her own voice. She dares to remain vulnerable even after pain because vulnerability is the path to healing. She accepts that not all friendships deserve to stay and learns to release them with dignity. She discovers that solitude gives her a strength that no crowd could ever offer. She